promote things that are happening, but they can't be ignored either. So today we're experiencing public outcries, and I may touch on why I think there are two particular reasons that we are struggling with these public outcries that we're struggling with right now in this particular time. But be that as it may, racism or oppression of any sort is unfortunately a part of our human makeup. Our nature is to be superior to someone. We have to really honestly accept that in ourselves and strive to go against that grain. Our natural makeup of the desire and the need to survive almost necessitates that we overcome, that we grow, that we always look to better ourselves. And in doing so, we compare ourselves to other people and we make judgments. We say, oh, I'm doing this better than that person, or I have this attitude that's better than this person. And we're not supposed to do that. Our true humanity in Christ is that one of appreciating everyone for who they are and for where they are in their life. One person may be struggling financially and another person may not be struggling financially. And when one looks at the other, the one who is not struggling financially might look at the other person who is struggling financially and make a judgment. This person isn't working hard enough, or he's not a self-starter, or whatever the case may be. And the person who is financially struggling may look at the other person who isn't financially struggling and say, oh, that person has been given an easy life. That person doesn't have to work for what he is accomplishing. That person has given extra opportunities, extra graces. It's just the nature of who we are, unfortunately. When we look at the time that Jesus was preaching, it really was no different. The Jewish people were being ruled by the Romans, and there was a true oppression. They had to pay taxes to Caesar, they had to follow all these rules, and if they, tried to incite riots, they were punished severely, as you can see in the way that Jesus was crucified, which doesn't match his preaching. If the Romans were crucifying those who were insurrectionists, then we look at Jesus's preaching. He preached beatitude. He preached love your neighbor, love your enemy. He preached poor in spirit, meekness, humility, patience, thirst for justice, thirst for righteousness. He preached an alternative to rioting, really. So why did they crucify him? Well, of course, that's a story for another day. But be that as it may, he walked within the time of great oppression. So no matter where we are in time, racism is a real thing. It doesn't mean it's running rampant like some people would lead us to believe. But it is something that we always need to look for in our hearts, no matter who we are, whether we're a person of color or a person, a pale skin or a red skin, whatever it is, whoever we are. We have a responsibility as a Christian person to look deep in our hearts, to find those attitudes that encourage ourselves to make ourselves better, or to judge ourselves as better as someone else in whatever regard. It kind of takes the edge off competition, because we thrive on competition. So it's not that we shouldn't have competition, right? The Marxists and the communists would have us believe that competition is not conductive or conducive to a positive society, that everyone in society is equal and receives and benefits equally, except for the elite, of course. But that's counterproductive to what a society needs. A society needs competition. What we need to root out is the attitude that because I might have come up with something better, or because perhaps I have a better education than another person, that I'm better than them. That's what we need to root out. No matter who we are, and no matter where we come from, and no matter what our background is. We can do that ourselves to a certain degree. The one downfall that we suffer as a society, walking away from these Judeo-Christian principles and not wanting to, or not being able to believe in the story of Jesus Christ, who overcame every oppression literally by dying and rising from the dead. Our downfall is in not choosing to embrace that story, many people, and society at large, is that it's more difficult for us to then recognize, our bad behaviors. It's more difficult for us to root out those attitudes that are negative. Because when we opt out of Judeo-Christian teaching, or any teaching that would say there is something greater than ourselves, we will tend to take care of ourselves. It's natural. But we look at Jesus. He didn't incite riots. He didn't graffiti the city walls or encourage his disciples to do so. So how can we look at our situation that we experience today in our world and make it a positive one? If I am a person who is being accused of racism, let me look deep into my heart and deep into my soul and find where those attitudes might still linger, and really pray for the grace to give those up, to give that attitude away in favor of a more positive attitude. Even if we don't practice racism, there may still linger something in our hearts. If I am one of those who feels I am the victim of racism, or whether it's first-hand, second-hand, or third-hand, because a lot of the argument is our ancestors were wronged and we are seeking justice. If I am in that category, then what, as a Christian, I am impelled to do is to find peace with the past, because living in the past does not help us to move forward. Even if we were to receive some sort of remuneration, which I don't know that any remuneration would ever be enough for true acts of violence against a certain group of people. So when I have confronted the past and have chosen to then be at peace with it, which really we can only do again with an attitude of there is something greater than I. We are a family, we are a community. Once we have embraced that peace, then we can decide now, how do I move forward? How do we help one another as brothers and sisters to move forward in a positive way? And that's our responsibility as Christians. When Jesus died on the cross, he died to repair a relationship between all of the people of the world and God. You know, we had broken that covenant of love. We had broken the relationship that we have with one another and with God. And he got on that cross to repair that and to remind us that we are all brothers and sisters, that we have a responsibility to love one another and to care for one another, and to always, every day, examine ourselves so that we can root out any behaviors that are destructive.